What's up, YouTube? Welcome back. So I want to talk about something that recently came up in the comment section of one of my videos, and that is pandering. And to be more specific, a YouTube user accusing me of pandering to brown skin and dark skin black women. And this has come up a few times actually, primarily by light skinned mixed biracial women, and to a lesser extent, brown skinned, dark skinned black men, right? Um, and I do find it a little strange that, you know, these, the, that I'm receiving the accusation of pandering. But then again, maybe it isn't so strange because oftentimes when you do speak specifically about, say, issues that affect brown skin and dark skinned black women, you will be accused of pandering a lot of the times, right? Even sometimes it may be true. Sometimes the person may be pandering, you know. But why is that? Why does it seem like, oh, it has to be pandering, you know? And then sometimes it's like, well, is that really considered pandering just to acknowledge and to try and help, someone who's having an issue, or. But before I go any further, I think it is very important that I define the word pander. So this definition comes from Collins Dictionary, and pandering, one of the definitions is described as if you pander to someone or to their wishes, you do everything that they want, often to get some advantage for yourself. All right. Another definition: a person. This will be the noun. A person who provides the means of helping to satisfy the ignoble ambitions or desires, vices, etc. of another. All right. And here is another definition, and this is the definition of the verb to pander. Um, to give gratification, parentheses, to weaknesses or desires. All right. So there you have it. Those are the definitions, right? So let's talk about this a bit further now. All right. So I don't think I fall into this definition of pandering as it relates to brown skin and dark skinned black women because well, for one, I have posted content and videos that brown skin and dark skinned black women probably don't really agree with. Not to say that, they disagree with all my content, but I have posted content that brown skin and dark skinned black women have come through and, wasn't feeling it. All right. Just recently with this whole Chris Brown situation, right? That came up. I made two videos about that Chris Brown, nice hair situation, right? You know, so if I were to be a person who panders, then that would have been a good time for me to pander, right? But as well, it would be a very easy thing to pander about, or to engage in when it comes to pandering, right? But that's not how I roll. All right. I don't go around telling folks what they want to hear. you know I try to tell folks what they need to hear. When I'm on this platform, right? I try to tell folks across the board what needs to be heard. And that includes brown skinned and dark skinned black women, right? Now, by chance, if what you need to hear and what you want to hear are the same thing, then you know that's great. And I think sometimes that is the case, right? And because of that, some people may think, well, that's pandering, right? Because you're telling them what they want to hear, even though it's kind of like, well, maybe what they want to hear and what they need to hear are the same thing. And also, I'm not sure, like, what do I really gain from pandering exactly? Like, I don't ask for donations. And actually, that's part of the reason why I don't ask for donations, because I don't want to have my message compromised, right? Like, for example, if I were to have someone donating to me and donating, a good amount of money, or even like a group of people donating to me a good amount of money. Let's say, swirlers, right? And they were donating to me a good amount of money, right? I would be less likely to talk bad about swirlers. Not to say that I really do, but sometimes I need to say what needs to be said when it comes to swirlers, right? So, because of that, I wouldn't want my message compromised by accepting donations, right? You know, basically to bring it all back, if I were to be a panderer, right? If I were to pander, then wouldn't I want to get something from pandering? Like the definition said, um, often to get some advantage for yourself. And what would my advantage really be other than perhaps subscriptions, likes, clicks, you know, perhaps some ad revenue money. But the way that YouTube is acting with ad revenue money, you gotta, you know, damn near be, PC Steve to get your video to be fully monetized. You know, like the videos that I release tend not to be fully monetized. You probably may see an ad run on them, run on my videos. You probably may see the ad, but if you create content and you monetize your content and you're familiar with that situation, you'll know that the green $ is when the video's fully monetized. The yellow $ is when it's like partially monetized, and a lot of my videos tend to be partially monetized because I tend to say things that aren't politically correct. I tend to curse, and I tend to talk about controversial topics. So just in case you want to come through with that, like, oh, you're getting ad revenue money. Trust me, it ain't much. And another aspect of this that I want to talk about is particularly um, light-skinned mixed biracial women's um, motivation behind this. When it comes to accusing me and as well as other people of pandering to brown-skinned and dark-skinned black women. you know and I think that accusation comes through because sometimes, like, I hate to say it, but I think they may just be very used to perhaps being the one who's the center of attention. So when that dynamic is flipped, right, and they're no longer the center of attention, but rather another group of people are the center of attention as well. They may even have, like, you know think of that group in a certain way, perhaps maybe even a bit of a negative way. But when they're not the center of attention, I think that sometimes kind of irks them a little bit, because I think they may be so used to being the center of attention. And as well, especially when you're calling out negative behavior that they engage in, then it's even more so going to be an issue. Like Beyonce, for instance, just recently was accused of pandering to brown skinned and dark skinned black women because of her song that she recently released called Brown Skin Girl. Right? Now, if Beyonce had released a song called, Light Skin Girl, would she have been accused of pandering to her, light skinned biracial female fan base? Probably not. Um, I think she would have received some criticisms for releasing a song like that. Yeah. And I think the criticism would come from brown skinned and dark skinned black women. Um, and to an extent, rightfully so, because a lot of brown skinned and dark skinned black women support Beyonce and may feel slighted by that song because it's like, hey, you're not really, like, why would you release a song like that and like exclude a significant part of your fan base, and a part of your fan base that has been there really since day one. You know, you know, back before Beyonce was like an international phenomenon and an international megastar, she was in Destiny's Child, right? Of course, we know that. And back in the day, back when Destiny's Child first came on the scene, primarily the target and fan base who supported them were black women, primarily brown skinned and dark skinned black women, right? You know, and Beyonce, I'm sure that she's not very knowledgeable, but she's aware of colorism, right? I think Beyonce's aware of colorism at least. We may not know exactly how deep it goes as far as like her knowledge of colorism and um, if she's like a colorism scholar or has a PhD in colorism. But I think we can say that she is at least aware of it, right? So her being aware of that, it would be kind of weird for her to release a song called Light Skin Girl because she knows the dynamics that play. That if she were to release a song, she could offend a part of her fan base. And well, some people may argue, well, brown skinned girl could offend some of her white fans. True, but it's a bit different because of the dynamics at play, right? Because her white fans, her white female fans, like they have so much positivity, and positive promotion, and a positive reputation, and are treated positively in society, right? So for them, the slight isn't as much. Yeah, they might be in their feelings too, but the slight doesn't cut as deep because they have so much more to fall back on in the way that society is structured and set up. It's different. It doesn't affect them as much. But on the other hand, we know how society is set up against black women, black people, of course, but especially black women, but even more especially darker skinned black women. So, Beyonce being aware of that, I'm sure it's, her and her team wouldn't want to further perpetuate, the negativity and the colorism and discrimination, right? You know. So I say all that to say, let me bring it back. All right. So I say all that to say that I think in this case it's not a matter of pandering, but rather really just giving a group of people a bit more attention. A group of people that probably would appreciate having a bit more positive attention their way, right? And as well, I actually try not to pander, you know, because honestly, I think it would be easier to pander it would be easier just to go with the flow and tell people what they want to hear, right? But for me, that doesn't really sit well to engage in that type of behavior, because it would mean that I'm being fake and disingenuous. And I don't, those aren't qualities that I like, and those are not qualities that I want to have associated with me, with myself. And I don't want to think of myself in that light. You know? And also, let's just be real. Sometimes you're accused of pandering to brown skinned and dark skinned women when you're just, being nice to them. When you're just, trying to, you know, show them some love, or to, you know, hear them out, or, just, you know, be a decent person to brown skinned and dark skinned black women. Like, oh, that's pandering, right? But then that even speaks to a bigger issue, which is like, it's almost like normalized in a way to treat brown skin and dark skinned women in like a negative way. And if you really think about it, that does have some validity to it, right? Because when we hear um, like colorist celebrities come out and say, disparaging comments directed towards brown skinned and dark skinned black women, a lot of times it's just like, it's not a surprise. It's, again, it's normal. It's normalized. But if those celebrities were to say that about light skinned, mixed, and biracial women, that would be a surprise. So long story short, for me, it's not so much about pandering, but more so just, giving folks some extra attention who, are somewhat in need of some extra attention, who would appreciate some extra attention, who should receive some extra attention, at least in certain situations. Just like we as black people, we have our issues that do need special attention. If some politician were to come out and try to actually, address black people's specific needs, that politician probably would be accused of pandering, right? But would we accuse that politician of pandering? Probably not, um, unless we felt that they weren't being authentic. But if we felt like they were authentic and that they really meant what they said, we wouldn't really accuse them of pandering to us. We would just say, like, hey, they're trying to just address our specific issues and help us out, because we do have specific issues that need to be addressed, right? Sometimes solutions can't be general and can't be broad. They have to be specific to the specific situation. Yeah. But I will say there are people who do pander to brown skinned and dark skinned black women, because they want to use them for a come up. They want to use them for financial gain. They want to take advantage of them. That is a thing. That does happen, right? Celebrities do that a lot. But like I said, I'm not really gaining much. It really, in a way, um, you know, it could be the opposite. Honestly, I might be actually losing something, by putting myself in the situation. You know. But for me, I didn't jump into this for the money. Not in this particular lane of YouTube. Um, I have thought about doing like a whole nother lane of YouTube, like outside of this, like colorism and black issues type of thing, but just a whole nother thing that's completely separate and completely a whole nother subject. But as far as this lane here, that's not, I didn't jump in it for the money. And really, what money is there really to get? I don't really think, is there really much money to get here? Yeah. I guess you can if you're like, asking for donations or selling a product. But then, like I said before, you can become compromised when you do that. Like when you ask for donations, that's part of the reason why I don't really try and get donations or sell products or whatever. It's because I feel like if I do that, then I would be a bit more concerned about trying to maintain my donations. Like, for example, if a group of swirlers were donating money to me, I would be less likely to want to criticize swirlers because you're not supposed to bite the hand that feeds you, right? And swirlers would be feeding me, so why would I want to piss them off? You know? As an example, right? So I guess long story short, this video has been a bit of a rant. It's freestyle. I didn't really write this particular video, write any notes. I was just thinking off the top of my head, right? But yeah, long story short, I am not a panderer. I don't pander. I'm just trying to help, right? I'm just trying to do my light skin community service, you know, and also just trying to be a decent human being. Sometimes it's just not even about that other stuff. It's just about being a decent human being to the next human being. But that's all I really wanted to say. I could go on for longer, but I think I made my point. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments section. Until the next video, adios and goodbye for now.